Wow. Wow. This is the second time I've heard Madonna Badger speak. And same, it hits me right here, it hits me right here. And if you have that same feeling, I'm going to invite everyone right now to let it really seep in. Anything that moved you in that last talk, I want you to carry over to this one. And to help you do that, I want you to take out this little blue egg. It's in your bag. It's a relic from my childhood, although it looks a little different. It's a silly putty. I want you to open it, tear open those bags. I want you to put it in your hand, and I want you to start playing with it. Go ahead, stretch it, feel it, let it run through ooze through your fingers. And I want, as you do it, to reflect on Madonna's words. Do not be a victim of your own life. You can create change. There is nothing to fear. And let those words sink in as you putty, feel it, and stay with that feeling as we go into this next half hour. So I too am here to tell you my story. But the real purpose, I think, why I'm here is to ask you something very personal, which is, what do you want? What change do you want to make? How will you not be a victim of your own life? This is the question I'm going to ask you throughout the next 30 minutes. And creativity has a lot to do with it. I just realized I don't know which way to push. There he goes. Hello. I'm going to start back 7 years ago. Pretty much exactly 7 years ago. This is a story about change for me and getting out of that victim cycle. There's 3 of my now 4 children. The one in the middle, Ruby, my third, had been born a year ago. I took some time off to be with her, as I did with Ziggy and Isla. For them, I had freelanced so that I could be home more with them. And when Ruby was, I'd say, 6, 7 months old, I decided to go back to work full time. And I think from the outside, everything looked pretty darn good. People would look at my life and say, wow, she's really nailing it. In fact, people said that to my face quite often. 3 kids, man, and a job and a career, that's pretty awesome. I was leading one of our biggest accounts at that time. The client was across the country. We had a beautiful house at the edges of wine country, which also meant an 1.5-hour commute each way. I had a wonderful husband, kind, emotionally intelligent, generous, a good human being. I lucked out in that department. And I had 3 healthy children. It all looked great, but I felt like shit. I was shattered inside, and I was really suffering. My marriage was flirting with the edges of the cliff. My husband and I negotiating a dual career, spent all of our time together negotiating schedules, childcare, who should get more time, who was doing more housework, why wasn't he picking up the load, why was I carrying the burden of the income and the burden of the housework and planning every birthday party. I was a bitter woman. Not a pretty picture. And he, knowing now, he felt helpless in the situation. He was never raised to do the things that I expected him to do, and certainly not to the standards that I expected him to do them at. And so without knowing it, I was shoving him further to the sidelines because he really wanted to participate, but it was not okay. And I vividly remember, I don't know what day it was, but it was in the parking lot of our local supermarket that I had a breakdown in my car. And I was faced with some unbearable questions. Did I marry the wrong person? Do I respect my husband? Do I respect myself in this marriage? Do I have what it takes to make this work? Do we have what it takes? And what if we don't? What do I do if it all falls apart? What happens to my children, to my marriage, and then of course my ego, to how people see me? Wow, that was a moment. A few weeks later after that, I had an opportunity to go home to LA on a business trip. So I went home to my parents' house, kind of where you want to go when you're in despair. I stayed up really late, sitting at my childhood kitchen table. Again, faced with those same questions. And then it dawned on me, partially out of despair and partially out of reflex of being a strategist for 20 years, I decided I'm going to write a brief. What? It was midnight. I said, yeah, I'm going to write a brief. I'm going to write a brief for my life. And it literally vomited out of me. And here's what came out. Super quick, the first thing. What do I want? I want time. Time with my children. Time with my husband. Real time, meaningful time. The kind of time, not just to be in the same room doing, our own things, but real time where we're present, where we're connecting. And I needed time for myself because, God damn it, I was dying under the shoulder, the weight of the responsibility. I was achieving. My career was definitely on an upswing. But I felt somewhere inside an emptiness that was saying I wasn't really giving my true gifts. I didn't feel a strong sense of purpose or fulfillment. I just knew how to do the craft. And it wasn't good enough. That wasn't enough for me. I wanted progressive public education that not only fed my children's minds, but ignited their spirits, put fire in their bellies, carved out and taught them what empathy, real empathy looks like, what love means, what kindness is, what it means to be generous, adaptable, flexible. I didn't just want math, science, and English. I wanted more. And I didn't want to have to pay for it. In fact, we couldn't pay for it. So I needed to find that education for them. We were outgrowing our house, and so we needed more space. That was an obvious thing that was coming. And it was really important for both my husband and I to show our kids that, San Francisco or Northern California was not the only way to live life. You know, there are little pockets of community, and we love community. We're huge advocates of participating in community, but we wanted to show them that there are so many ways to live, so many amazing ways to be happy, and that was non-negotiable. Of course, as older parents, to stay fit and healthy and energized and be here on this planet as long as we could for them. And lastly, the community part again, to find our people, not our people in terms of color, race, religion, etc., but find people who believe in those same things, that it's good to reach out. And my husband calls it social security. The real social security is your community. Get out there. And I knew that was a big part for him. So all of this flowed out. I texted him. I said, check your email. I have something in your email box. It's a long time. I could have, I don't know. It'd be different now. And he texted me right back and he said, yes, capital Y-E-S exclamation. Yes, I am on board to that. It was interesting because then we stepped back and took a look at that brief, and we realized in our current life, we had 0 out of 7. We're 0 for 7. My God, that was a shock. Are you kidding? We kept telling ourselves, you know, even in our frustration, we live great lives. We should feel very, very lucky, and we are, and we do. But of the things that really mattered most, 0 out of 7 at that moment. 2 other things we noticed when we stepped back. Wow, they're really fundamental. We didn't want yachts or big promotions or $1 million contracts. No, we wanted time. We wanted exposure. We wanted connection. Those were the things that mattered most. We want a lot, but we only need this. And that was such a relief to connect with each other about that. It was amazing. And so we made a commitment right then, that night. We said, we have to go for it now. We can't be those people. Those people say, well, when the next client comes in, when the next promotion, when you get that next salary bump, we'll do this. We said now. It has to be now. We also said we cannot let 2 fears that we knew were prominent get in the way. One was fear of leaving where we were, our home and community that we had invested in, leaving my job at Goodby Silverstein and Partners. And we could not fear money or a sense of lack. That those 2 things would not stop us. And we were very firm that evening. And 4 months later, we found the brief in Portland, Oregon. It was incredible, and I won't go into detail how it came about, but that day I felt like I won the lottery. The community, the school, 1 block from the house. And we thought, okay, we signed the lease before actually going there and seeing the house or the school. That was a little crazy. We sent the check, we wrote a letter, and then we had to move. And ever since, we have never looked back. And in fact, the big surprise came when I went to resign. And the partner said, no, don't quit. Why don't you just commute? I thought, really? I said, okay. You know, they said, you know what? Yeah. Why don't we try this experiment? And when it stops working, you'll know and we'll know, and then we'll end it and it'll be grand, you know? I thought, fantastic. It'll go 6 months and then, you know, I'll find my new job then. And it went 6 years. It was a 6-year grand experiment. I took a 4-day work week. I flew down to San Francisco every week for 1 night, 2 days, But that meant I had 5 days at home with my family. 5 dinners, 5 breakfasts, any doctor's appointments. I walked my children to school. I got that time. It all started with the brief, and we have never stopped since. It's become a ritual that we do every New Year's Day together. New Year's Day night, glasses of wine, maybe a bottle of wine. I write, he edits. And our marriage has blossomed. It's not perfect. We still fight a lot. But we also co-create. We collaborate. And life is a lot more fun. And we added another child to that mix. And now we're back in San Francisco. And making that decision was extremely hard as well, because we were living our brief. And then we had to say, is it time for the next brief? And that was a process, and the brief helped anchor us. So what is it? Let me tell you right now, it is not a plan for all the type A's out there. And it certainly is not a to-do list or even a bucket list. There's a great quote from one of my favorite poets that says, "Your plan is too small for you to live." Because plans are all about what we can see right here. From this point, what can we see? What do we know? Plans are built by information and data we have today at this moment. But that is not big enough. Creativity is about looking at what we want, what we see, what we want to make possible without needing to know the steps to get there. So that is a major difference. This is about creative living. We spend so much time helping our clients find their direction, write their North Star, have a point of view in the world, articulate their beliefs, and then adhere every action around those beliefs. How many hours? I mean, I've done it countless times for 25 years. I don't know about you, even if you're starting out, that's where all our energy goes. But what about our own lives? What if we put an ounce of that into this? The stuff that really matters. It's also not a one and done thing. For me, the life brief, it's a practice. It's a living thing. Anytime I feel lost or confused or burdened by the distractions of envy or jealousy, it's so easy these days, right? You just get on Facebook or Instagram and you're like, wow, that life, I want that life. Or, boy, it looks easy for them. We all know the truth, don't we? It's a practice of alignment. A great life, a well-designed life, a creative life, is one in which who you are syncs right up with what you believe and everything you do. That's what I aspire to. And I'd like to invite you all to do the same. So again, what do you want? Because we all know by now you cannot have it all. I'm not even sure what that means, right? But I think someone earlier was talking about it. You know, if I'm rocking it at work, I'm, dropping it at home. Or if I'm rocking it at home, I'm sure as hell I'm holding the balls at work, So, but you can have all that matters. The question is, do you know what really matters? Are you clear about that for yourself? It's going to be different for me and you, but do you know? That is the first step. Because, this is one of my favorite authors, in knowing what truly matters, we are liberated from our striving to be somewhere else or to be someone else. That's what we tell our clients, right? If you know who you are, you stop worrying about what they're doing over here. You don't have to copy them because you know who you are. Same thing in life, maybe more important. So I said we've continued to expand on this brief and continue to evolve it. There's a beautiful book by a poet named David White. I encourage you all to read it. It's called The Three Marriages. And he talks about 3 marriages that are critical to every life. The first is the one we all know, the traditional marriage, the marriage to someone else. And I would say you don't have to be married to start thinking about this, because it's really about the close relationships that we have with other people. It doesn't have to be a formal legal marriage, but it is that which we connect with someone else and we share and deeply give. The second marriage is that which we have with our work. We think a lot about that in this room. And then the third is the marriage we have with ourself. And according to David White, all of those marriages are non-negotiable. For if you allow one to plummet, all will fall eventually. So the dance in life, it is not about balance, but it is about integration. How do you integrate those 3 marriages that are so critical to our own sense of fulfillment and well-being so that they have a healthy rhythm between them and that they are not competing with each other? So inspired by this, here is, I call it my, for the purpose, it matches the title. It's really our, my family, my husband and I, our current life brief. So for each other, it's to be co-creators and collaborators in life. We love this ride, and we love it when we're creating it together. And we're not afraid to go off the track, because each time we do, life becomes more magical, more expansive, more full of possibility, and more true to who we are. To be in harmony with one another. And the third one is really important to me, to be in awe and admiration of him. I never want to return to those days where I questioned his value or overlooked his gifts. And now he has chosen to be the stay-at-home parent, and he's done that for the last 6 years. And I have never been in more awe or admiration of him and how he does it. Far better than I do it these days. And to really encourage and support each other and celebrate each other for our individuality and give each other the freedom and space to continue to grow. Work. This is a really interesting one. I have to read the quote, actually, that David White writes about work and about our relationship with work. He says, work is a place, Work is a place of powerful undercurrents. Sure, a place to find yourself, but also a place to drown. Losing all sense of your own voice, your own contribution, and conversation. Wow, I totally identify with that. My God, drowning in the views of everyone else's success. I remember my early years in parenting, decelerating my career, choosing to take a year off for each of my first 2 children, and then 6, 7 months for my third, and then later 5, shorter. But I felt the envy and also the personal crisis of watching my peers go into big jobs, big titles. And I thought, oh, well, there goes that. I made my choice, but I couldn't help but feel that anguish. And then I realized, wow, it's not just about that, is it? And as I started getting bigger jobs, I realized they could be equally empty. So it really became, I want to walk a path of fulfillment more than I want to walk a path of achievement. I want to come home every day and feel that I have leveraged what is my unique superpower, the gifts that I give to this agency, to this role, to my people, in a way that no one else can give it. That is fulfillment for me. I want to do work that lights me up, fires me up, makes me energized, taps my own creativity, and makes me a better person as a result of it. I want to activate a sense of purpose, possibility, and leadership in every single person in my agency, in my children, in my husband, and that fuels that for myself. And I do very much want to influence people and culture in positive, lasting, and meaningful ways, which I admire Madonna so much for her work. All right, so for myself, ourselves, this is also a complicated marriage, a tough one to have, because, you know, the other two marriages are very outer. It's easy to react to them. You know, something happens at work, you react to it, you get information, you learn. But this one requires a deeper connection. Not activity, but actually dropping in. Someone called it in an earlier conversation, the quiet. And boy, it's a fucking noisy world we live in. That quiet is more elusive than ever. But for myself, live fully, learn daily. Love freely without restraint. Now, anyone who knows me, I am a very loving person. I overuse the word love because I feel it all the time. And there was a point in my career where I thought, oh, I got to tone that down. I'm not very credible when I do that. And now I feel, fuck that. I love you and I'm going to say it. Okay, it makes you uncomfortable. I'm not sorry, but I acknowledge that. I want to speak, write, and act from a place of here, not here, here. I want to embrace change. This is something my husband and I work on very hard, with grace, courage, creativity, clarity. And we changed so much. Our family is crazy, and there's 6 of us now. And doing change with grace is enormously hard, but we are getting better at it. We practice. Overcome my own self-doubt and my limiting narratives. Now, this is deeply personal for me. I have lived with imposter syndrome. I have lived with resistance. I have lived with a sense of lack. And this is the one I have to practice all the time, including getting up on this stage, following Madonna, in the footsteps of Kat, so many great people here, and not to shrink in the face of that. And then again, the rhythm, the harmony. I want to hold it all, not at once, but I want to give it all its due presence, its due time. So what does it really take to do this? Again, the putty helps me connect, stay here, find my quiet. Turning off the spinning wheel of narrative and story about who you are, what you came from, what you're capable of, what your parents expect, what your agency thinks, what your friends might think, what everyone is telling you, what you're seeing out there. Turn on this, because this is where creativity happens. Creativity starts here. Possibility starts here. What do you want? Really, what do you want? I want you to say that in your head right now. What do you want? Colleen DeCourcy just spoke at the DNAD conference about lightning in a bottle. She's so awesome. I love her. And she got to this question. She said, it's stupid, simple, this question, but so clarifying. It just cuts through the bullshit, doesn't it? What do you want? And what do you want that you are afraid to admit to yourself, out loud, to your partner, to your family? Because that's where the real juice is. The stuff we're hiding from ourselves. What do you want? So when you ask yourself that, be brave. Go to the depths that even your mind will not allow. Maybe it draws up really uncomfortable feelings, but that's okay, because isn't that the creative process? We go uncomfortable in order to get somewhere astonishing. You have to go. Who said it on the panel? Comfort is not a good friend of creativity, is it? So be brave, go deep, and get sharp. Use the power of language to really clarify. What do you want? And here's the amazing thing of when you do that, suddenly everything shifts. Immediately, instantly, everything shifts. Your perspective shifts. Your focus shifts, and everything you do starts to shift. It's automatic. And suddenly you're in action. You don't even have to write that plan because it's going to start moving. Clarity is the key to possibility and activation. Another one of my favorites, Leonard Cohen. Don't be afraid to get messy. As creative people, we love messy because messy is where the truth is. Messy is where new is. Messy is where possibility lies. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Break it. Don't be afraid. Break the rules. Break your own rules. Break the stereotypes. Break it, mold it, and let something new come in. Kat's husband and I were talking at dinner last night, and we're talking about love, favorite subject. How did they meet? How did my husband and I meet? And it was not a clean story for me. And he said, love is just never a straight line, is it? I said, yeah, it's so true. Neither is life. It's never a straight line. So writing your brief, seeing your brief come about, it's like sailing. You know where your destination is, but the wind's going to come in, sometimes gale force, sometimes rain. You have to contend with that. You have to show up to what shows up right in front of you. But it will unfold because your compass is moving to the right place. You know where you want to go. If you don't know where you want to go, any path will do. So again, the clarity. And then here's the really awesome part. That's it. I'm not going to, say, well, then you put the 5-year plan together and then you do this and that. Nope, that's the work. Because a good brief is like a good work day. And here's the thing. Here's the truth of it. Some of you sitting out there right now are saying, I love this idea. I'm going to do it. In fact, I have a book in here to get you started. It's in your bags, right? And you're thinking, tonight, after my glasses of wine, I'm terrible with this podium. It's a hot mess. You're going to say, I am doing it tonight. Or I'm going home to my spouse and we're going to do it together. We're going to get that bottle of wine. We're going to crack it. We're going to do it. And then this part of you comes up and says, no, not right now. Maybe after a long weekend, or maybe we need to go to Hawaii first, detox, not right now. But here's the secret. It's just like a good day at work. 90% of it is just showing up to the task. Just taking out the pen, putting it down on paper, opening the laptop, whatever it takes. It really is that easy. Just tuck away your self-critic, that little judge, and just start writing. Let the pen lead. You'll be surprised at where it goes. And that's when the fun really starts. Because our intentions are enough. They're enough to unlock and pave the path forward. And when you can release yourself from your own doubts and limiting stories, you start to create space to see opportunities in things you would have otherwise rejected, ignored, overlooked. It's a beautiful thing, I promise. So when you change your story, the stories in your head, you start to really change your life. And like Madonna said, you can create change. Don't be a victim of your own life. There is nothing to fear. Thank you.